This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have the chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1. You will hear a woman asking a friend for a restaurant recommendation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 4.
I've been wanting to ask your advice about restaurants. I need to book a place to celebrate my sister's 30th birthday, and I remembered the spot you chose for your mom's 50th. It sounded ideal for a celebration like this, so I thought I'd check with you and get your honest thoughts.
You mean the Junction? Yes, I definitely recommend it for a special occasion. We went there for my mom's birthday and had a wonderful evening. The setting felt festive without being noisy, and everyone in the group said they really enjoyed themselves.
Where is it again? I can't quite remember the location.
It's on Grayson Street, only about a 2-minute walk from the station. You step out, turn the corner, and you're basically there.
That's perfect. I'd prefer not to drive that night, but I also don't want a long walk in dress shoes. Being that close to the station really helps.
The location is great, but the main reason I'd suggest it is the food. If you like fish, it's probably the best place in town. The seafood is always really fresh, and there are lots of interesting choices on the menu. Even if you don't want fish, the rest of the dishes are good too, so everyone should find something they like.
Is it very expensive?
It isn't cheap, but for a birthday it feels reasonable. The atmosphere is warm and relaxed, and there's a nice extra. Before dinner, you can go up to the roof for a drink. It's a lovely space with great views. You'll need to book, though both the tables and the roof area are popular because the views are so impressive.
That does sound nice. I'll put that down as a strong possibility. Is there anywhere else you'd suggest, maybe with a different style?
If you're after something a bit less formal, you could try Paloma.
Where's Paloma? I don't think I've heard of it.
It's quite new, only open a few months, but it already has a great reputation. It's in a beautiful old building on Bow Street, the kind of place that feels charming the moment you step inside.
Oh, I think I know the one you mean. Is it right beside the cinema?
Yes, that's it. I've only been there twice, but I was really impressed both times. The chef used to work at Don Philippe's, apparently. I was really sorry when that place closed down, so it was nice to see some of that talent at Paloma.
So is the food mostly Spanish there?
Yes, it's Spanish. They do lots of small plates you can share, which works really well if you're in a group. You can order a mix of dishes so people try different things without committing to a single big plate.
That's worth thinking about.
The atmosphere is lively, and the waiters are genuinely friendly. The one thing to know is they ask for a £50 deposit to book a table.
A lot of places do that now. I should look at the menu as well, because a couple of my friends have stopped eating meat. I want to make sure there's a decent range of vegetarian options.
I'm not totally sure, but I guess the vegetarian selection might be a bit limited.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Another idea just came to me. Have you heard of the Orly?
No, I don't think so. How do you spell that?
A UDLEY. You must have heard of it. There's been a lot about it in the press lately.
I don't usually pay much attention to that kind of news. Where exactly is it?
It's in that hotel near Baxter Bridge, right up on the top floor.
The views from up there must be incredible.
I'd love to go. I can't think of the chef's name at the moment, but she was a judge on a TV cookery show recently, and she's written a couple of cookery books as well.
Oh, Angela Fry.
That's the one. Anyway, all the newspapers have given it excellent reviews. People keep saying it's the kind of place you remember long after the meal.
It really does sound like a memorable spot for a celebration.
Definitely, it would be worth visiting just for the view, but the food is supposed to be something special too.
She prefers using local products, doesn't she?
Yes, at that restaurant everything has to be sourced within a short distance, and they don't fly anything in from abroad.
I imagine it's expensive though.
You could try the set lunch. For a top-class restaurant, it's quite reasonable, £30 a head. In the evening, it's more like £50.
I thought it would be at least that. I'm sure everyone would enjoy it though. It isn't one of those places where you leave hungry, is it, with tiny portions?
The reviews I've read didn't mention small portions. I'd expect them to be average enough, so you feel you've had a proper meal.
That's good to hear. So, the junction is close to the station and great for fish, with a lovely roof bar if we book. Paloma is newer, Spanish, and fun for sharing, though it takes a £50 deposit and might not have many vegetarian choices. And the Orly, spelled UDLEY, is on the top floor of the hotel near Baxter Bridge, has amazing views, excellent reviews, and focuses on local ingredients, with a reasonable set lunch at £30 and dinner around £50. That gives me 3 solid options.
Exactly. Think about the mood you want. If you want classic and polished with very good seafood, go with the Junction. If you'd rather have a relaxed evening with shared plates and a lively feel, pick Paloma. If you want a big wow moment with views and that local produce focus, the Orly would be perfect.
That really helps. I'll check the menus, make sure there are enough vegetarian dishes for my friends, and then I'll decide which one suits the group best. Thanks so much for the guidance.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 2. You will hear a potter John Carter speaking to a group of people who are visiting a pottery, a place where people make pots and other objects from clay. First, you have some time to read questions 11 to 16. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hello and welcome. I'm John Carter, one of the potters here at Adelman Pottery. Before we step into the workshop, I'll say a few words about pottery as a craft. After that, we'll look at the equipment, and you'll get a turn at making your own pot. Most of you know that pottery is an ancient art tens of thousands of years old. We're sure of this because pots survive when other things don't. Baskets, fabrics, and paintings usually break down in the ground, but fired clay lasts. Even when archaeologists only find broken pieces, those fragments still tell us a lot about the past. Pottery has given researchers a clear window into how earlier people lived. The overall shape might be missing, but the marks on the surface can show whether a pot was used for storage or for cooking. Scratches from tools and the clay itself can also point to the place it was made. When I ask people why they sign up for a class, they sometimes mention this history. Like our ancestors, they hope that something they make will outlast them. They like the idea that their work, good or bad, might say something about human life long after they're gone. Of course, you each have your own reasons for being here. For me, the best part of pottery is the level of focus it demands. That calm attention pulls you away from everyday stress. If you're older, it's also gentle exercise for hands and wrists and can help with arthritis. And for children, it's great fun because it's gloriously messy. At Adelman Pottery, we teach simple, core techniques so you can use them to create whatever you like, maybe a gift for a friend. For most visitors, this is a first try, so we'll keep everything straightforward today. Before we move on, a quick note about clothing and safety. As we said in the email, please take off watches, necklaces, and anything similar and put them somewhere safe. If your hair is long, tie it back now. We'll give you aprons in a moment, but please make sure you're in old, comfortable clothes, not your favorite shirt or jeans.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 17 to 20. Now, listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Alright, let's head into the workshop. Have a look around, there's a lot happening. To make pottery that lasts, you need 3 things: a potter's wheel, a kiln that's a very hot oven used to fire the clay, and a set of tools. First, the kiln. If you look into the far corner, you'll see one of ours. Kilns haven't changed much since they were first invented, although in the last 20 years temperature control has improved a lot. A kiln drives the water out of clay at about 10 degrees Celsius. That heat fixes the piece so it keeps its shape for good. A kiln is heavy and not very pretty, and it isn't easy to keep in a house or a small flat, so most people don't own one. You might wonder, can I use my kitchen oven? In theory you can try, but home ovens don't reach the temperatures you need, and in the end the clay will crack and break apart. Some people fire pieces in an outdoor fire pit, but that can be risky. You also need to know the safety rules for kilns, because they can release toxic compounds while firing. Next, the potter's wheel. This machine helps you shape clay into forms with round sides. Bowls are a classic example. When the wheel was invented, it changed pottery forever. It made it possible to produce many pieces in a single day, instead of just a few by hand. Finally, tools. Potters use different tools depending on the shape and finish they want. When you're starting out, your hands can do a lot on their own. They can press, pinch, and smooth the clay into many curves without any special gadget. Still, there are a few basic tools you'll need when working on the wheel. Tools that help you cut, trim, lift, and refine the surface. Some of them look unusual and have odd names that are easy to forget. Rather than list them all now, I'll point out the key ones as we use them. We'll provide everything today, and I don't suggest buying tools yet. That's the overview. You've heard a bit about why pottery matters, what we'll do today, what to wear, and the main pieces of equipment: the kiln, the wheel, and the tools. Now let's get to the fun part. We'll sit at the wheels, and I'll guide you step by step so you can make a simple pot of your own.
That is the end of part 2. You have half a minute to check your answers. Part 3. You will hear 2 students, Nina and Omar, discussing their research for their presentation on loneliness. First, you have some time to read questions 21 to 26. Now, listen and answer questions 21 to 26.
Let's go over what we found in our research on loneliness. So, Omar.
Sure, Nina. Honestly, it was eye-opening. I didn't realize loneliness has been steadily rising over the last 20 years.
Same here, and it's happening worldwide. I guess that's one of the costs of modern life.
Did we reach any clear ideas about why it's increasing?
I used to think it mainly affected older people. But it turns out younger adults are just as affected.
So it isn't really about people living longer. What about social media? For me, instead of making me feel left out, it usually helps me feel connected.
I'd say overall it does more good than harm. I think a bigger factor is how cities are planned. People in high-rise blocks don't get many chances to chat with neighbors.
That makes sense.
Another possible reason is smaller families, fewer children, and less of the big extended family network.
True, but at least in this country that shifted decades ago. The rise in loneliness is much more recent.
Good point. A more convincing reason is that people move for work a lot more and end up far from family and old friends.
Yeah. And about health risks, I've seen claims that loneliness is as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day or comparable to obesity. I'm not sure the evidence really supports those exact comparisons.
How about the study from Finland showing loneliness raised cancer risk by around 10%? Other research has backed that up.
You're right on that one. I was thinking of the dementia studies. Some show no link at all, while others do. It's mixed.
So, not very reliable there. There's also lots of work on heart and blood vessel disease, asking whether loneliness plays a role.
I read that it's hard to reach a firm view because the definition of loneliness varies a lot, and people's answers are very subjective. But one thing seems solid: loneliness weakens the immune system.
Agreed. The data on immune effects is strong.
What did you think about the evolutionary explanation?
I found the basic idea convincing that loneliness developed to push humans toward other people, because survival often depended on working as a group. But I don't think there's enough proof to say there's a special set of brain cells that makes us feel bad when alone and directly controls social behavior.
Some studies hint at it, but not enough to be sure. We need more evidence.
And even if it's true, it doesn't really help us fix loneliness in the here and now.
Exactly.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Shall we move on to loneliness and mental health?
Okay. Loneliness and depression are clearly linked, and governments in many places recognize that. But unlike depression, loneliness isn't a clinical condition with an official definition.
There's no formal diagnosis or proven treatment plan, and that's unlikely to change soon. I agree. For our presentation, I think we should start with a personal story. I could talk about how lonely I felt when I first started university, being away from home for the first time, not knowing anyone.
That's a good idea. People will relate to it, even if many students were probably too embarrassed to admit feeling that way.
We should also include some practical ways to handle loneliness, like talking to strangers.
Lots of studies suggest quick chats with shop staff or bar workers can make people feel more positive and more relaxed.
I'm not sure about the relaxed part for everyone, but it probably helps people feel more connected to their local community.
True, though you do need to be the kind of person who can start a conversation out of the blue.
Good point. We should also explain that solitude and loneliness aren't the same. It's interesting how some people hate being alone, while others really enjoy it.
Yeah. The research shows a certain amount of time alone can be good for well-being. I get that, but personally, I don't enjoy being by myself. I'd never choose to travel on my own, for example.
Nor would I.
Then let's avoid that and make sure our talk makes the difference between time alone and feeling lonely really clear.
That is the end of part 3. Now you have 30 seconds to check your answers. Part 4. You will hear part of a presentation by an urban planning student about the role of rivers in cities around the world. First, you have some time to read questions 31 to 40. Listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
It's difficult to name a city that doesn't have a major river running through it. Think of the world's big urban centers, Shanghai, New York, Mumbai, London, most of them grew up beside waterways. When these places were first founded, hundreds or even thousands of years back, rivers shaped daily life. In 16th century London, the quickest route across town was the waterway. People also fished there, because the water was fairly clean, and they took gentle boat rides up and down the river for fun, as a calm break from the noise and rush on the streets. As industry expanded and populations rose, urban rivers declined. More people meant far more sewage being dumped into the water. Rivers had always been used this way, but when towns were small, the impact was limited. Once cities passed 1 million residents, the damage became serious. Other pollution increased too as factories lined the banks and tipped waste into the flow, and the problem worsened over time. As late as 1957, experts at London's Natural History Museum said the River Thames was biologically dead because it was too dirty to support life. In recent decades, though, as rivers lost their heavy industrial role, cities started to see their real worth and worked to clean them. The Thames, for instance, is now the cleanest it has been in a century and a half. Today you can spot seals in the water. Not long ago a whale even strayed in from the sea and swam upriver. Rescuers tried to help, and although the animal wasn't saved, the issue was confusion, not water quality. All over the world, waterside districts are now prime places for development. Old warehouses that once stored goods are being turned into high-end restaurants and apartments with river views, homes that are hugely sought after and sell for very high prices. In Los Angeles, on the US West Coast, one architect wants to restore the riverbanks and create a park there, adding sports facilities and peaceful green space for people to unwind. Planners also hope the riverside can serve other roles. One idea is to provide areas for showing local art projects made by people from the community. Paris offers another example. During July and August, traffic is banned from the roads beside the river. The banks become city beaches where people lounge in deck chairs under potted palms, sunbathe, and buy drinks or snacks while enjoying the view. To get the most from rivers in our crowded cities, we should return to their original role and use them for transport again, taking streets back from cars and lorries. That means shifting more movement onto the water, but doing it cleanly and quietly, using modern technology. Already, more than 2 billion passengers ride ferries in cities like Istanbul, San Francisco, and New York, and that figure is expected to grow. It isn't the fastest way to travel, but cars aren't fast either when they are stuck in jams. Road traffic for passengers might fall as more people work from home, yet another trend is pushing volumes up. Online shopping has surged, and delivery traffic keeps growing. Trucks and vans clog streets, pollute the air, and double park while they drop off parcels. Imagine using the huge carrying power of ships and barges to remove many of those vehicles from the roads. A single freight barge can replace 44 big trucks, use far less energy, and cut pollution. When a barge docks by the river, parcels can cover the last few kilometers on cargo bikes, ideally electric ones. This is already happening in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands. In the future, the final handoff might even be done by drone, though that isn't currently permitted. Clearing our city centers this way would be a great outcome, opening streets, reducing noise, and letting rivers do what they do best once again.
That is the end of part 4. You have now 30 seconds to check your answers. You have now 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.